Dude, I can get every sound you could want out of my Fender Twin. Just say it.
Hey, Martin, thanks so much for writing in. I always love reading statements like this because, I've been looking for the CLAYMAN tone for decades. Turns out, I guess I should have just went out and bought a Fender Twin. Thanks for letting me know. Can't wait to see your video on how you got that tone. Guess we'll see in about 20 years. It's not Jared Dines tube. It's not Steve Terryberry tube. Did you miss that part on purpose? Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Should be Friday the 28th by the time this episode airs. I'm sure you guys are all anxious to get going on your summer breaks, which should be coming up real soon. Hopefully you are anyway. Before we jump into this episode, I thought I'd do some weekly recommendations because I always have a lot of fun with those. For film and television, I would say this week I'm recommending Star Trek Lower Decks. If you haven't seen it, it is absolutely awesome. Definitely recommend watching all the seasons. Binge that because it is absolutely hilarious. It's one of the best Star Trek shows that's ever been done. It's probably since The Next Generation, in my opinion anyway. I can be wrong. I'm not a full-on Trekkie. I just like a good story. Speaking of good stories, book recommendation. I don't hear enough about this series. I don't know why, but books I would recommend, I think there's 5 or 6 books in the series, would be Patrick Tilley's The Amtrak Wars. It's a post-apocalyptic thing. It's really damn cool, and I'm kind of always been scratching my head why Hollywood has never made some films around this franchise because, again, it's an amazing story. If you want to go on a deep dive into something that hasn't been completely rehashed, highly recommend those books. Simply amazing. All right, so let's get to your comments and questions right now.
Glenn, this is more like the VC I'd love to keep seeing with Butthurt of the Week just for fun.
Hey, Striker, thanks for writing in. Yeah, I will say this. I did kind of maybe a 180 for the last couple of viewers' comments, and the response I've been getting has just been absolutely nothing short of phenomenal. I'm pretty blown away, to be honest with you. 2 weeks ago, I decided I was going to say, hey, let's just try answering some questions instead of, trading wits with the witless. And you guys seem to respond to that way more. So I'm going to definitely take the show in that direction and try and be a lot more helpful rather than just making fun of idiots, with the exception of Butthurt of the Week. Yes, I'll try and bring some of that back as well, because even though it is great to be helpful, it's also equally great to have a good laugh making fun of idiots along the way. And because this is a music production channel, there is no shortage of the latter.
You didn't have to do Starlight like that, LMAO!
Of course, you're referencing Wednesday's video where I re-released the rough guitar video without all the special effects. And I'm just watching the numbers on that take off. It's about 2:20 in the afternoon. I'm shooting this on Wednesday, and I'm just been sitting there all morning going, holy shit. That one kind of blew me away. But about Starlight, I'm going to say this. I didn't do anything to Starlight.
You have done that yourself.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on the actress because I don't know her personal situation. I don't know what she's going through, but I do know one thing. I really dug some of the theme music in this season's The Boys. They used God Save the Queen by the Sex Pistols, and wow, does that song ever still stand up to this day? Absolutely amazing. I also have some insider information here. I know what they're going to be using next year for the theme song, and apparently it's going to be Who Let the Dogs Out.
Glenn, real drums recorded well sound amazing, but wouldn't it be simpler to record with an E-kit?
Hey, Graham, yes, it would. So here's something I don't share on the show. I don't know why, but when I first built my studio, I actually started out with an E-kit. I started out with some Tama Techstars with a really crappy sounding module, and then I upgraded that to an Alesis DM5. That had a killer kick drum sound on it. And this is all, we're talking mid to late 90s tech. And then, 99, 2000, something like that, I bought a Roland V-drum kit and did some studio records with that for a couple years, and then eventually learned how to record real drums along the way. I'm going to do a whole video breakdown on this. I think I'm going to be doing real drums versus E-kit, especially now in 2024, seeing what the affordable technology can get us as opposed to a real drum set, see if there's a big enough difference. I'm just talking with a drummer right now, trying to set those schedules up. I think that's going to be a really awesome video to see because I can look back at some of the records I've done with V-drums from 2000, and I can take a look now at using an E-kit with various things like extinction level event. I think that's going to be a cool video. Please make sure you're subscribed so you get notified when that one comes out, because if you're scratching your head about this right now, should I go with E-drum, should I go with a real kit, this is one you're probably not going to want to miss.
Hey Glenn, serious question. Is there a reason that front of house would rather an acoustic kit over a dialed in electronic kit? Keeps up the content, sir.
Well, I'm not front of house, but I can take a wild guess. It probably has something to do with the acoustic sound of the drums coming off the stage, especially in a smaller club. You're going to need a much more powerful PA and decent monitoring on a stage where you've only got an E kit. There's just, you're not going to hear the tick, tick, tick on the drums over the sound of the amps. So there is something to that. Basically, the sound guy is probably going to have to work a whole lot harder. At least that's what I'm guessing. Once again, I'm not a live sound guy. I tried it, and the bands just did not want to pay me for my time. So I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to stay doing the studio thing.
By the way, Element Bass looks cool, but I wonder what's the advantage it has over something like Neural DSPs, Dark Glass, and Parallax. Seems a bit like you have an all-in-one solution. I'm just a bass player, so naturally I am confused.
All right, real quick, today I'm proud to show you the ultimate bass amp sim, Element Bass. You've been hearing it on my show in mix after mix for well over a year now, and so many of you have asked, what's up with that bass tone? How do I get it? And the answer is one simple plugin, Element Bass. We've designed this from the ground up to get you an awesome tone right out of the box. There's no more wondering why the bass doesn't work in a mix. Element Bass has everything you need to get a mix-ready, crushing bottom end with zero guesswork. Discover ultimate flexibility with up to 3 parallel tone stacks, each with their own separate EQ, plus our one-of-a-kind stereo enhancer, compression, and an impulse response loader. You can craft your tone in ways that were never possible before. From pounding metal to blues to country and even jazz, every great mix needs an element. Get your copy today at spectredigital.com. Links in the description below. Now let's get back to the show.
My comment to help the algorithm.
Hey, Crustar, I really appreciate the comment, but truthfully, you know what really helps the algorithm more than anything? Just put the video on and let it play. Just watch it all the way through. That would be an absolute gigantic help to the show because YouTube makes recommendations to other viewers based on watch time. So if you click off early, you're actually kind of hurting the channel. But if you actually sit there and let the video play, that'd be absolutely super amazingly helpful. You don't necessarily have to tie yourself to your computer. You can throw it on and go get a coffee or something like that. Just let the video play. Believe me, it would be a massive help. So if you're watching this, just let it play all the way through. And that being said, I'm going to be doing a little bit of an experiment on Sunday. I've been doing a little bit of homework when it comes to the YouTube algorithm and whatnot. And apparently YouTube likes really, really long videos. And so I'm going to be doing a mega cut on Sunday of all of my guitar reviews over the last 3 or 4 years. I think we're going to call it Guitars That Will Destroy America, the movie. It's going to be 10 hours of nonstop guitar reviews. So if you want to help the channel, all you gotta do is hit play and go take a nap or watch the videos. You might just learn something along the way. It's kind of hilarious. As I go further back in time, I just watched my guitar skills fall off a cliff. And I was watching a few of these. I'm like, geez, oh man, wow. Am I ever glad I had put in the work and learned how to play a bit better. We're going to do something new here on Spectre Sound. We're going to have our very special comment of the week. And this one comes from Necronomicon66.
He blames the pinch harmonics issue on the pickup. Lol. I thought pickups don't matter. Definitely couldn't be the player. Gee, never.
Can I get a replay? Ooh, a little bit tougher to pull that off on this guitar. I did nail it the second time around, but the first time, yeah, missed it completely. Again, it could be a technique thing. Yeah, that's kind of funny there, Necro. I specifically said it was the player, and it didn't have anything to do with the pickups, and it had to do with the way how I was playing the guitar. Did you miss that part on purpose? It never ceases to amaze me how people see what they want to see and just deny reality. Because that's not happening in today's society at all.
Hey, Glenn, I was wondering if you buy anything off Facebook Marketplace. I was wanting to get a little desk set up to start trying to play an amp sim and stuff like that. I was wondering what's the best way to go about it. Thanks, Glenn, from Dayton, Ohio.
Hey, James. Yeah, I buy stuff from Facebook Marketplace all the time. Actually, I just picked this up yesterday. This is a Fuji X1 Pro camera. This thing is really freaking cool. It's what I would call redefines the term sharp. It's about 10 years old, and wow, this thing is just unbelievable. It reminds me of an old school camera, old school manual focus camera like I used to use in college. It's super lightweight. I think I'm going to be throwing this in my travel bag. It's going to be really cool. I've got like an old piece of Canon FD glass adapted to it right now. This is just a pretty awesome setup. I do want to get an autofocus lens. Also think I found one on Facebook Marketplace at all. My tips for Facebook Marketplace: if you don't know what you're walking into, try setting up a meeting for the handoff at like a local coffee shop, something like that. In Canada, we can do that at Tim Hortons. Americans, you might want to try a Starbucks, something like that. Just something where there's some security cameras around. Hell, do it at a McDonald's. Doesn't really matter. But somewhere where there will be witnesses and security cameras. That way, you don't have to worry about a deal going south on you. That's what I'd recommend. I found all kinds of great stuff on Facebook Marketplace. In fact, a lot of camera stuff, that's for sure. Now, when it comes to audio gear, you should have absolutely no problem at all finding things like monitors or USB interfaces, all that stuff. I guarantee all you got to do is spend a little bit of time, do a bit of digging, and most importantly, have a little bit of patience, and you'll probably wind up finding yourself a really good deal. Hell, Facebook Marketplace. I got that Bujura amp off Facebook Marketplace. I got that for an absolute steal. Trick is, just be patient. Good luck, man. Okay, next up, we've got something I know you guys have been waiting for. It's been a couple weeks since we've done this, but we've got the much anticipated return of the Butthurt of the Week. Hit it!
You must be a horrible teacher who conflates opinion with demonstrable data. No data presented. None! Not one frequency chart in sight, yet all opinion and subjectivity. I bet you're an American Trump voter. Glenn shows graphs in this video, so I'm not sure what you're getting at here. Graphs? What are the numbers then? Numbers of what? What measurement? Don't you know anything? Anything! The mere fact that you can't identify said graphs speaks volumes in the quality of Glenn's defenders.
Okay, so this is going back to that video where I shot out the 5150 versus the rectifier. And one of the top comments on that video is from a teacher who said he really appreciated my methods and backing everything I was doing up with measurable data. And then Kenneth basically blew a gasket and started on this little tirade. Here's the thing, Kenneth, and I'm gonna hopefully be helpful. Like I said, I don't want to be calling out morons. This would be super easy to do to you, but I want to help. So what I'd recommend is you go get yourself a copy of Room EQ Wizard. It is absolutely free to download. It will cost you nothing. And you can get a copy and try doing the same experiments on your own. Make your own measurements and show us what you can do. The cool thing about Room EQ Wizard is at the bottom of that chart, you can plainly see it labels what frequency is what. And if you look on the left side of the screen, it shows the sound pressure level in decibels. So it's SPL versus frequency, hence frequency response graph. In fact, in that video where I showed all those graphs, you could easily see what numbers were where, and I call out what frequencies you're starting to see deviations at. Again, this really kind of shocks me that people are willing to deny reality in order to pursue their own narrative and accuse me of things I didn't actually do. So I'm just kind of curious of the motivation here, Kenneth. Could you maybe explain to me what you're thinking here and why you went off on this rant without bothering to verify what you were saying? I'm kind of confused on that. Please let us know. I'm sure more than a couple of us would be very interested to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks so much.
Given tight budgets for home recording, what's more important to you, a reamp box or an audio interface?
Striker! That's 2 in this video. Wow, you got some great questions here. First and foremost, you're going to need a recording interface because you don't have an interface, you're not going to be able to get a signal in or out of your computer. So a reamp box would be a moot point. So yes, get a decent interface. Like I said, I love the new Antelope stuff. I've got one of the new Focusrite 2i2s sitting there. I need to take that for a test drive at some point. But seriously though, there is a wealth of great recording interfaces out there that won't break the bank. And once you've got one of those, you can get one of these. And this is the United Studio Technologies Replay Box. Oh, it's so good. It's so cold, the whole body. It feels like it's a heat sink. That just like wicks heat right out of your hands. Super cool.
I would love to do some demos and gear reviews. Is it too late to get in the field with YouTube as saturated as it is? No, not competing. Your reviews are awesome.
Hey, Preston, the only person that can answer that question is you. Basically, start making content and see if you can entertain people. I think there's plenty of room for more creators on the platform. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's YouTube. It's not GlenTube. It's not Jared Dines Tube. It's not Steve Terryberry Tube. It's YouTube. So if you make a video and people find some value in it, they're going to watch it. My suggestion would be try to learn how to tell a good story.
Hey Glenn, what for screen are you using these days? That's a pretty big screen you got back there.
That's a 55-inch LG OLED. I think it's what, the C4 or something like that? I can't fucking remember. G3. I don't fucking know. Pretty damn cool. I remember actually when we built the studio back in 2003, we were actually looking at it and we were saying, you know, one day there's going to be a flat screen back there. And this was still in the days where plasma TVs were like $2,000-$3,000 a piece. They don't even make plasmas anymore. That ought to tell you how long ago that was. That was the dream, to have a large screen back there. We built this whole place with that purpose in mind. And you know what? It finally freaking happened. It's well worth the wait. I love working with this thing. It's great. Well, that and having the touchscreen on the Neve down here is really amazing too.
My dad had an album cut in the early 80s. The mix was very thin and never sounded right. Nobody knows what happened to the master, and Dad has long since passed on. Is there any hope of ever getting it remixed to sound better? All I have it is a few vinyls and YouTube uploads.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that's a pretty tall order. I mean, if you can't find the original multi-track take, you're going to have a very hard time getting it remixed. You might be able to get AI to kind of part it out a little bit, maybe beef it up, but I don't think you're going to be able to do very much. I could be completely wrong here. If anybody's got some suggestions, maybe you can help the guy out. That'd be super appreciated. But as far as my limited knowledge on that sort of thing goes, oof. You'd be better off finding out what studio it was recorded at and seeing if they've got any tapes in the archive. The thing is, the tape might have deteriorated over the years, so you're gonna have to treat it very, very cautiously. You might want to call around and see if there's any people who do tape restorations in the city where you live. You might have to ship it to something like LA or something like that, and then hopefully nobody scans it with a magnetic scanner. Ooh, wow, talk about a can of worms. That's gonna be a big job. I hope you've got a budget for it. And even then, even if they can pull the multi-tracks off there and remix it, that's no guarantee you can make it sound any better than the source tape was. I mean, that was a big thing with the first Rush album. The guys were not happy with what they got. And they even had it remixed after the initial mix, and it still didn't sound all that great. So just keep that in mind.
I'd love to go to Apple, but this is a hobby for me, and spending $5,000 on a computer, I can't justify. A $1,000 M1 MacBook is still fast enough. No need to spend $5,000 these days.
Absolutely agree. I've got a MacBook Air that handles all my plugins like no problem. That was like $1,100, something like that. Canadian, $1,200. The thing's fantastic. I was going to get a full-on MacBook Pro, and I was talking with Henning Pauly, and he's just, look, just get the MacBook Air. It's light, the battery lasts forever, and it'll handle everything you can throw at it, including 4K video. And you know what? He was absolutely right. I've got to say this, you know, if you've got tech questions like about that kind of stuff, ask Henning, because he's usually really up on that shit. So I bought that a couple of years ago and never once regretted it. I'm running a full-on Mac Studio M1 in here. I've been doing that for the last couple of years, and it's just been absolutely phenomenal as well. Again, didn't break the bank. The days of the $5,000 Mac are over. Ever since they put out the ARM chips, it's been a completely different ballgame, and suddenly Mac went, you know, out of reach and for elites only to pretty much the computer for everybody. Even I switched, and I was a diehard PC guy going all the way back to 1992.
Glenn, hello mate, I love your show. I really like to have a system like yours to move the microphones on the speakers of the cab. Could you give me directions for what you're using? Many thanks.
Yes, what we're using is something called a Dynamount. I've actually got the Dynamount 2 in here, and it's nothing short of spectacular. It's just great for dialing in tones. I had the Dynamount 1, it was good. The 2 is infinitely better in terms of ease of use and setting it up to remote control with your phone and whatnot. Go check him out. Ask to talk to Mike Russo. He's the head of that company. Great guy, and I'm sure he can get you set up.
I remember getting drum tracks done at a well-known recording school in London, Ontario. Every track was edited to just the transient and tail. In the mix, they sounded so dead, completely ruined the song.
Well, isn't that the whole point of modern metal these days? To ruin the song? To take the life out of it completely? Funny you mentioned that. You know, I had a band come down here who was from London, and we tracked the drums in here, and you know, everything had life and whatnot, and they took it up to London to get mixed, and guess what? Yep, they edited the living shit out of it and replaced everything with samples. I talked to the engineer about it, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And he was like, please don't put my name on your show. And I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sakes. I should have outed him. I really should have. And said, dude, what the fuck? This is why, you know, I fucking hate modern music productions, because it doesn't matter how hard you work on getting a performance out of somebody, some asswipe is going to fuck up your work so they can make everything perfect and therefore better, except it's never better. You're just killing the music, asshole! Just because we can do it doesn't mean we should. Again, go back to the Sex Pistols. far from perfect. Way more awesome than most modern metal.
I used to tell my first drummer, you're a drummer, not a cymbler. Focus on the drums.
That is fantastic advice. Now, if we could just get the bass players to focus on learning the songs. That would make life easier. Speaking of making life easier, don't forget to get your copy of Element Bass today. Links are in the description for that. It is absolutely awesome. And yes, it is a one-size-fits-all thing. It just delivers the goods, and it does it exceptionally well. All right, that's it for this episode. That's all I got today. Now, fuck off! Dude, what the hell? Hey, everybody. Mark, gut. The fuck is this? Got it! And damn it, let's do that one more time. Fuck! That's what it's called. Fuck. What am I doing?